You can blame Samsung all you want for launching pretty much every product its R&D department can come up with, but can you imagine a world without the phablets they invented? People have already forgotten how much we ridiculed the first generation Galaxy Note, but 5 generations later, phablets have become essential. That same story repeats itself with curved displays. I briefly used the Galaxy Note Edge and immediately wrote off its newer Galaxy S6 Edge because I thought it would be just as much of a gimmick. But that was really until I used the larger Plus variant. See, instead of following the Note Edge mentality of giving you a secondary display, Samsung matured the idea dramatically this year, and this is something you really won't understand until you hold the larger S6 Edge Plus variant in your hand. The Edge display contributes in 2 essential features that you won't really feel on most other phablets. For starters, it doesn't really feel like a big phone in your hand. Yes, you can totally tell the 5.7-inch display is huge, but that's where the Edge adds value, as it creates an optical illusion of a display without bezels. In a word, holding this phone is just surreal, and watching a video on this gorgeous Quad HD display is just fantastic. And then you have to add the quality of these materials, which only contribute in giving this futuristic feel proper aging. Yes, you are definitely buying one of the world's best fingerprint magnets, but that's the reason why I chose the gold variant, and I don't regret it 1 minute. I'm actually the 3rd editor that uses this AT&T review unit, and you really have to scout for scratches on the glass on either the front or the back. The 7000 series aluminum also looks brand new even after extensive use, and even though a friend of mine recently dropped his blue variant to a tiled floor, you'll notice that the dent is barely noticeable. Samsung has clearly outdone itself with the quality of this design, and I highly suggest you hold one, as there is only so much I can tell you on a video. The company has also done a great job with the software. This looks like TouchWiz when you unbox it, but it doesn't really have to. If you prefer the look of stock Android, there's a marshmallow skin for you to pick, or if you'd rather get cartoony about it, then there's another, and then another, as the theme store is packed with free options for you to swap. The Exynos 64-bit processor matched with the 4 gigs of RAM that are included on this phone both do an amazing job at providing you with a very fluid experience all around. And if you were bored of all the old Samsung gimmicks that were included in the past and that only bogged down the experience, you're actually going to like the ones that are included on this phone. For example, if you find the display too large, just triple-click the home button. You'll notice that it'll give you a feature that's similar to Apple's reachability on the iPhone, but with the added benefit that here, it won't expand until you tell it to, which is a definite plus. Instead of having that annoying tab for dual window, it's a simple step from the multitasking tray as well. And just like this, everything else just feels more refined. The funny part is that about the only thing you really won't use from this phone is the Edge features. Simply put, the last thing that anybody would do with a phone this expensive is set it flat on its face on a table just to see the color hue of somebody calling them on the phone. And calling people or applications from the Edge is also rather slow and clunky. Again, you'll enjoy the Edge for how it feels, not really for what you can do with it. I've been alternating between the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus and the Galaxy Note 5 for the past few weeks, and I continue to feel the Edge Plus as more delightful. Using this phone to watch a video is just plain gorgeous, and given the clickiness of the side buttons, you can set it on the table and not worry about getting these buttons activated. The same can be said about using the large display to read a book, or playing graphics-intensive games, as you really never feel the device heat, even after holding it for a while. About my only complaint with the Edge screen on day-to-day use is that holding the phone can sometimes trigger controls on the display accidentally. But hey, if you're used to Samsung's annoying capacitive buttons, you'll feel right at home here. Like with most acquired tastes, you'll probably fumble with it for the first few days, and then you'll learn how to hold the phone differently after that. Then when we move over to phone calls, these are just okay according to the people I call. I don't really consider the earpiece to be the loudest that I've used compared to other phones that I've been testing lately, but it's, again, just okay. The only problem is the placement of the speaker that can easily be covered by your finger, and that doesn't really do the loudest job possible either. In the case of data speeds, these are just as fast as you'll notice with your average LTE flagship, but one of the cool things I like about this phone is just how well it clings onto Wi-Fi even on the toughest areas, and the same can be said about the way it clings to LTE. And then if you thought that you'd be buying a phablet for its battery life, sadly in this phone it's rather mixed. I've always managed to get through the day just fine, but you'll end some days better than others. You do have the advantage of fast charging, and this phone is rather quick at it, and if you are into the wireless charging thing, that's also an option if you want that as well. Now, when it comes to the camera, photos will do a better job at describing the experience than I will. If you follow me on Instagram and know how much I love photography, this phone just takes the cake. Day photos are obviously excellent, but my most interesting experience was with night shots because, in this case in particular, what you see is not really what you get. The 16 megapixel sensor matched with f1.9 aperture, optical image stabilization, and Samsung's post-processing all contribute to a lot of heavy lifting in very dark scenarios. All this to say, if there's something you like, trust me, just take the shot. Even if it doesn't look as well on the viewfinder, more often than not, you'll notice that the resulting photos look gorgeous afterwards, which just tells you how good Samsung's post-processing is. And the same can be said about resulting video. Samsung stabilization is clearly top-notch when filming, and you simply have to love the smooth action of the device focusing in and out of subjects. Probably the only experience I didn't like was with the selfie camera because, true, it's good, but it doesn't really perform that well in night shots. Overall, you will get some decent selfies, but again, the primary camera is just the best camera I've used lately. And bottom line, that sums up most of my experience with the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus. I can't remember the last time that I truly liked using a phone this much. This is one of the most refined experiences I've had in years, and even after testing a few phones lately, I always enjoy coming back to this device every so often. As with every product, not everything is perfect, and if anything I'd say that the biggest flaw this phone has is its price tag. Still, if you want the latest and greatest out there, and you love flashing your phone to show off, I can think of no better phone to recommend than the Galaxy S6 Edge Plus.